This is Collin Griffith's maternal grandfather. In other words, he is the father of the victim. He testified this past Friday. I'm going to play his testimony now. Prior to jumping into that, a couple of things. Number one, major trigger warning. Number two, I'm going to give you a quick recap of Florida versus Collin Griffith. He is being charged with first-degree murder for unaliving his mother. What makes this case even crazier is the fact that not even 18 months before, he had unalived his dad. However, it was deemed self-defense. So he moved from Oklahoma to Florida to live with his mom. And here we are now in court because he unalived his mom. He stated that she fell on the knife, and investigators or the medical examiner said absolutely not. That would be impossible. So here's his testimony, and then I will give you guys in the next video recaps of day 2 and day 3.
Based upon your personal observations, did it appear that the defendant trusted you and would talk to you and confide in you about certain things, grandfather, grandson topics?
Yes.
Did there come a time when the defendant said something to you that was very disturbing to you?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what the defendant said to you.
My grandson was very aggravated at his grandmother and his mother. He said, "I am so tired of these two bitches. I'm disgusted." He said, "My mom, I keep thinking over and over, I want to slit her throat. I want her to bleed out. I want to smell the blood. I want to feel the blood. I want to feel the life and the blood leaving her body."
Now, when he said that, what went through your mind?
I needed to take a deep breath and do what I could to discourage that thought, because thoughts become words, words become actions.
What did you say to him in response?
I said, "Collin, I love you, buddy, but you can't have those kinds of thoughts and focus on them and then speak them, because you will cause them to become reality. Please think positive things about your mom, about yourself, and about a good future together."
Now, at any point did you warn your daughter about what the defendant was wanting to do to her?
I did, but I did not use the exact words because there was so much malice.
Objection, Judge.
Now, explain to the jury, were you concerned that if you used the exact words the defendant said that he wanted to do to his mom, that might negatively affect their mother-son relationship?
It would, and I was afraid it would actually give her nightmares.
Did you tell her a clean version or a more vanilla version, if you will?
Yes, I did.
What was her response?
That he's been threatening her, and he's been threatening Susan multiple times with killing both of them.
Now, knowing that, though, did she still want him in the household and wanted to keep having the relationship with him?
Yes. Good morning.
Mr. Walantas, you didn't come to Cathy's funeral, did you?
No.
Can you explain why?
The funeral for a person is for those left behind. I will see Cathy in my thoughts, in my mind. That's where I want to keep her. Attending a funeral where her body is placed in the ground, that's not Cathy. Cathy's spirit is elsewhere. The essence of Cathy is elsewhere. She's with me. She's here in this room today with each of you. She can speak to you. She can speak to me.
Mr. Walantas,
Ma'am?
I asked whether you went to the funeral and why. Just answer that question, please.
You interrupted me as I was explaining why. That you don't like my response, ma'am, that's your problem.
Judge, would you please?
If you would avoid the commentary and you've asked the question.
I did ask the question, but then he's talking about her being present and speaking to the jury, which is non-responsive.
Sustained as to non-responsive, that portion.
Mr. Walantas, the pictures showed a trip that you took with Cathy. That was one trip, right?
That's correct.
Have you taken any such trips with any of your other children?
No.
Do you have memory problems, Mr. Walantas?
With what, ma'am?
Just in general.
Oh, sometimes I might think it was something that occurred a week ago, and it's actually a week and a half ago.
Okay. But that's the extent of your memory problems?
Usually, yes.
When was it that you say Collin told you that he wanted to slit his mother's throat?
I believe it was 4 months before she was murdered. It may have been before that.
And Judge, I'm going to ask that he be instructed not to use terms like that. That's for the jury to decide.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is up to you to decide whether or not there was a murder in this case. You'll disregard that, the use of that word.
Mr. Walantas, please tell us the month, if you remember, that Collin supposedly told you the things that you've shared with the jury today.
May
May of what year?
2024.
Okay. And how did he tell you? Was it over the phone or by text?
Over the phone.
Okay. And what's your phone number?
505.
Grandson Collin Griffith then at some later time makes some very disturbing statements to you about what he wanted to do to your daughter, his mom. Answer. A few weeks before the disappointing presidential debate in June, which we can all snicker about, Collin was telling me, and then it goes on to repeat what you said earlier, but
Yes.
you remember saying it was a few weeks before the debate.
Yes.
Did you ever call the police about this statement that you claim Collin made to you?
I called the police here, yes.
Oh, I meant at the time that he made it to you, so in May of 2024, or a few weeks before the debate.
No.
Let's talk about your call to the police in September of 2024. You found out from your son, John, that Cathy died, correct?
Yes.
He called you.
Yes.
At some point after John called you and told you that, you watched a press conference that was put on by Sheriff Grady Judd, correct?
Yes.
And you watched it in its entirety, right?
Yes.
And it was about 20 minutes long, if you remember.
About, yes.
And Sheriff Judd described in detail how Cathy died, right?
Yes.
And it was only after you watched that press conference that you took the initiative to call the police here.
Yes.
They didn't contact you as a close member of Cathy's family to get any information from you, did they?
Initially, no.
Right, you contacted them.
Correct.
So you inserted yourself into the situation.
Yes.
Collin's phone records, there are a total of 3 phone calls between you two from mid-2023 till September of 2024.
Yes, I can explain why.
Okay. Why?
Well, there's Collin's phone. Collin had an initial phone that his mom got for him. Then he got another phone number. And then often when Cathy would talk, she would then hand her phone to Collin, and we'd talk from there. So you have 3 different phones.
Oh, do you know what phone you talked to him on every week up until September of 2024?
On my phone, I
Right.
know that
The
much.
phone- the
Which
phone-
one?
he was using,
He was on one of the three.
but only 3 calls on the phone that we are all aware of.
No, there's 3 phones, ma'am, not just one.
The records we have. Sorry.
Objection, how do you know what the records?
Sustained. Sustained.
And you said that there may have been some text messages. So the text messages that are shown by the records indicate that there have been no text messages between you and Collin since Father's Day of 2023 when he texted you Happy Father's Day. Does that make sense?
Most everything was phone calls. There were some texts since then between one of the 2 of Collin's phones.
Do you know where Collin kept this mysterious other phone?
I don't know about a mysterious phone, ma'am. I said there were 2 different phones he had. He had one phone number, and then he got another phone number. And that was something that he and Cathy arranged.
And this is something that Cathy told you.
No. He had one phone number, and I put it in for Collin Griffith. Then he told me that he had another phone number. His mom got him a different phone. So I put that phone number in, and then Cathy's phone, so that's the 3 phones.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Levine?
Yeah, just read. Mr. Walantas, the defense said that you inserted yourself into this situation. Do you recall that?
Yes.
You are the deceased victim's father, correct?
Yes, I am.
Did you insert yourself into anything voluntarily?
When Collin and I spoke about that disturbing phone call, I told him that if anything happened, I would be talking with people officially instead of being quiet.
And does it make sense that the murdered victim's father calls law enforcement?
Sustained.
Excuse me. Does it make sense that the
Objection is calling for speculation.
Let me hear the question. Don't answer the question until I say so.
Yes, sir.
did it make sense that the deceased victim's father would contact law enforcement with important information as you did?
Sustained. That's for the jury to decide, Mr. Levine.
Now, when you called law enforcement on September 23rd of 2024, you told law enforcement the disturbing violent statement that the defendant made, correct?
I did.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. Is the witness released?
He is, Your Honor.
Ms. Thornhill?
I have no problem.